Hello! Today we will look at what phenomenology is and how you can collect text on people's life experiences in research. After that, we will delve into some reasons to use it with Indigenous participants and reveal how some studies have done this. First, we will review what phenomenology is. Second, we will look at how we identify and use phenomenological texts. Last, and most importantly, we'll look at Indigenous phenomenology, which will provide important insights into First Nations knowledge and experiences. Phenomenology is a term often used interchangeably to mean people's experiences. If it is the same, then we get writing like this. But is that all there is? Here's an op-ed about how this lack of serious investment into musical education and training assumes that a dog playing the piano is just as good as a trained pianist. Actually, the experience is much different and probably disappointing. Is this an example of an experience, of phenomenological experience? Let's first look at what is a phenomenon. It is something that shows itself to us. It's something we live through, and it is revealed to us when we become conscious of it. So phenomenology is a study of these three things: manifestations, human consciousness, and our experience in the life world. Generally, when meaning is found in a person's own primal impressions and perceptions, it is known as descriptive. This example is about a mother whose 23-year-old son grabs her hand, and she feels for one moment like she did when he was a child. When meaning is found in a person who has intentions towards an object, person, or event, while living in an ever-changing world, it is considered life world. In this example, a man discovers that his mother, who has Alzheimer's, is hungry, and she goes to the kitchen, but she can't remember why she was there. Her confusion shows that she feels she has failed at something, and he sees this in his life world. Themes are often found in phenomenological texts. They're usually about something taken for granted, the absence or presence of something, manifestations and contradictions, such as how we see ourselves and the reality out there. This is an example of immediate loss of privacy and personal space due to the close-up presence of people's expressions and body in socially distanced meetings. It can be an awkward experience for some. This is on being diagnosed with a mental disorder and the sudden realization of how she views her own beauty and how others perceive her. By the way, this is a haiku. Here is an example of a manifestation for a person with cancer. When the patient is ill, bodily events are the events of the day, and the way events in our lives are defined are no longer the same as before. In phenomenology, a life world is the world in which a person lives, with their intentions, relationships, and background. It is an ever-changing, fluid, and complex environment. It is subjective and is never considered an objective point of view that can be proven or explained causally. Life worlds have objects and subjects. An object is anything that we have intentions for and can be a person, place, object, memory, smell, etc. We are all subjects. Everyone is a subject, sharing the world with others. We all live in a natural, temporal, spatial, and cultural world which changes and eventually becomes chaotic. These unchanging points of view about our experience is the essence of human subjectivity, and is only exists as long as an individual continues to think about them. So how do we apply phenomenology? We can structure the interview text in the form of anecdotes. We bracket the parts that are phenomenological and use it in our research in a field of interest. We can structure the phenomenological text as an anecdote, which is very short and a simple description of a single event that closes quickly after the climax and has a punchy endline. Did you notice that the previous texts were all anecdotes? How do we get to the phenomenon? We ask one interview question about their experience, and then follow up with supporting questions, such as how did you feel, then what happened, etc. We suspend our judgments and reasoning. We focus on people's intentions and not on the objective world. We look for the consciousness and the senses from the body. What are we looking for from the interview? There are a few things that can help. There are a few clues. Things such as invariant structures, various expressions of identity in many different ways and in different places. Assumptions about what is normal or not, and my favorite, where we are connected and disconnected with the participant. You can get phenomenological data from interview transcripts, written accounts from participants, responses to audio recordings, videos, or artifacts. You can take them to the location where they had the experience and have them reflect on site. You can also get your participants to write poems and plays about their experience. Remember that phenomenologists say that what we encounter and how we experience our environment is a result of similar and past experiences that we have. And remember, we are not representing groups, but revealing their embodied history of engaging with people, objects, spaces, and places. Many writers have written about Indigenous life world experiences. Generally, Indigenous phenomenology is about their physical, social, temporal, spiritual, natural, and historic experiences. The Indigenous phenomenology is distinct in its use and reference to embodied knowledge or embodied consciousness. The body grounds their experience in space and interaction with others. Sources of knowledge include their spirit world and knowledge about nature and the land and the history of their experience. The individual occupies both the social world and an individual world at the same time. Wholeness of an individual is based on their ties to the world and is inseparable and meaningful. Knowledge comes from inner space, from dreams, visions, quests, and intuition. This leads to meaning that connects their inner space and outer space. As a result, Indigenous phenomenology describes their understanding to be intuitive, analytical, metaphorical, and cognitive, consciously cognitive. Good reasons to use phenomenology to describe an Indigenous experience is that it respects their oral tradition by inviting people to share their stories uninterrupted, thus not misrepresenting them. It promotes Indigenous leadership because it gives participants control of their story. History of colonialism and racism can be brought to light. And finally, the study of phenomenological text and experience are often analytical and procedural. This quote on the world being a result of spiritual performance is an example of that. There are two cases that use phenomenological methods well with Indigenous participants. They are quickly summarized in the next two slides. This study is noteworthy because the phenomenon was described in a cumulative way after collecting all the stories. The conclusion was that Indigenous youth life experiences was based on their spirituality and historicity, and that knowing the spirit of their ancestors were watching over them and still inhabiting the island. This one is also unique because the authors use the women's own words to create phenomenological themes, hence the title. Concluding that the problem gambling was a way to block out racism and their experience with colonialism. Thank you for viewing this video, and remember to like and subscribe. Have a good day.